Hi, I'm Angie. Today's video is all about creating a space inside to grow seedlings when it's far too cold outside. So today is snowy. It's January. It's far too cold to sow anything outside. I'm saying it's far too cold. There are people who sow things outside in little protected environments like the ones in the milk cartons, which seems to do pretty well. That's not something I've really tried very much, maybe I should. But I tend to try and sow some things inside at this time of year, and to keep them growing, they obviously need light and they need heat. So I've got a little friend here pecking at my feet. No. Now, the light in where I live at this time of year is really minimal. The days are really short, so I need to give them some artificial light. So I've set up a little grow propagating seedling station in a big cupboard that we have on a shelf in a big cupboard. It'd work really well in an airing cupboard or a wardrobe, anything you've got going really, kitchen cupboard. Basically I've lined it all with foil. I've got a grow light in there. I've got a tiny little heat mat which does the job perfectly well because it's inside a cupboard, so it retains the heat. And yeah, I'm going to show you how I did that. It really helps to extend the season, to be able to start things like chillies, aubergines, things that take a really long time to grow and crop, that wouldn't normally necessarily have time. So yeah, it's really useful, especially for the first couple of months of the year. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Hope you enjoy it. I'm making this grow box on a budget using a light I picked up for about £10 on eBay last year, a little heat mat that cost about the same, some kitchen foil, duct tape and some bin bags. So altogether I reckon I'm spending about £25 on the propagator, which is a bargain. I start off by emptying out a big shelf in my cupboard. We're very lucky to have a very big storage cupboard in my living room. And then I'm lining it with my bin liners. You could use anything for this, it's just to protect the surface in case there's leakage from the seedlings. I'm just making sure that this is tucked up around the sides and at the back. Again, just to make sure that if there's any water leaking from the seedlings, that it doesn't damage the paintwork. To stick everything down, the bin bag and the foil that I'm going to put on next, I'm using duct tape because it's super strong, waterproof, and it peels off quite easily afterwards too. So this is the grow light. It was bought from eBay last year. It was about £10. They're still available on there now. There are lots of different types of grow light available. This is the only one I've ever used. It seems to work quite well, but there's plenty more on the market if you want to have a little shop around. Some of them are on clips, which would be handy if you were attaching them to a shelf or a windowsill. This one has a hook and wires on the back, so you can hang it. Last year I had it hung kind of down from a curtain pole, but this time, A, it's going to be really difficult for me to attach a hook to the bottom of that shelf, but B, it also would probably make the light dangle too low over the plants, and I don't want them to get damaged. So I'm just using duct tape to secure this to the top of the shelf. I'm adding quite a lot of duct tape to this. I really don't want it to be falling down, but I'm also trying to be careful to avoid covering any of the little light LEDs that are on there. Should have pointed out this is an LED light, so it's quite cheap to run. I'm going to probably have it on for about 8 hours during the day. Once the seedlings get a bit bigger and the light gets a bit longer through the day naturally, I'll shift some onto windowsills and then back into here just to extend the light in the evening time. So probably only have it on for 3 or 4 hours then. And a quick check that it works. So now that the light is attached and the base is lined, so we're not going to get any leaking, I'm now going to start attaching the foil. I'm going to try and line the whole thing with foil, the whole cupboard, both on the door as well, and that'll just make sure that the light reflects all around, that the seedlings don't get leggy, and that they don't kind of lean to one side or another to follow the light. I'm starting off by lining the roof, then I'll do the walls and the floor, or the base of the shelf, and the little panel just on the door so that there's some light reflected back from that too. Little heat pad. It's a very small heat pad. There are lots of bigger ones available. I would probably recommend getting a slightly larger one if you're buying one, but this one will work fine. I'm going to wrap it in a pad of foil and kind of just seal that in to make sure no water gets onto it. And then I'm going to put a foil base all across the bottom of the shelf as well on top of it. I'll secure it all down with some more duct tape. This will act both to secure the heat mat so it doesn't move around, but also the foil will help spread the heat out. And the fact that it's in this cupboard, which will be closed, will mean that the heat will, stay where it's meant to be. If this heat mat was out on a windowsill, for example, it wouldn't produce the same environment. It really will make a nice little microclimate in here and keep my seedlings nice and toasty. And that's it, it's done. Light on. Ta-da! So I'm really pleased with that. I think it's going to work really well to keep my seedlings nice and toasty. There's going to be plenty of light for them to grow nice and strong. I'm delighted. I can't wait to get sowing. So I've set my cupboard up, which I'm really happy with. Exciting. So obviously now I want to sow some seeds. Now it's January and I don't want to set things off too early because I live up in the north, we're in the hills, it's cold. Our last frost date isn't till end of May, sometimes even beginning of June. So really it's best to start things off knowing how big they're going to be before you can plant them out. So things like chillies, they don't grow so quickly, and they have a really long growing season. So if I start them off now, I have a polytunnel, I have an unheated greenhouse, so they can start off now, and by end of April they can be going out into those outside protected spaces. If I was to start off my tomatoes now, for example, they grow really, really fast. Within 6 weeks, they're needing to be somewhere they can grow big, and it's going to be too cold. So I'm not going to start them off until probably end of Feb, beginning of March. But there are other things that I can start off that I know are going to be able to go out. So, for example, in my polytunnel, my season is a month to 6 weeks earlier. So things that I could sow or plant outside at the end of March, I can get away with sowing now for them to go into the polytunnel in the middle of February. So it's working out what you have available and what space you have available to grow and how long things are going to take. And that's a practice thing, really. There are guides you can find online to how quickly plants will grow, but it's trial and error. And some things take longer than others, and that's just how it goes. So chillies is what I'm going to do today. Now, I didn't have many chilli seeds left from last year because unfortunately some of them got really damaged. But I did have some dried chillies from a trip to Spain about 3 years ago. And what I've done, I'll show you in a minute, is I've emptied the seeds out of them. And I've put them in some tea, which helps to break down kind of the outside of the seed and help it to grow a bit quicker. But what I did, because they're quite old seed, put them in the tea. Any that float on the top, they can go. and any that sink to the bottom are probably good. So I've skimmed off the top, and these are what I've got left. So I'm going to sow these quite liberally, just in case germination rate isn't great, in these little coir pots of compost. And I'm going to put them in my cupboard. So I'm just scooping them out, and I'll show you in a sec, but I'm going to put them just on top of this compost and kind of push them in. It's snowing today and my compost is all outside and under snow, so I'm just going with what I've got. I had this bit in the house, so yeah, I might sow some other things another day when it's not quite so snowy. Okay. Quite tricky to get out because it's still wet. Okay, so I'm just going to use a little bit of this one to sprinkle on top of this one, so you can see. Just if you have a look at that one, there's the seeds. I'll spread them out a little bit better, and yeah, just sprinkle it on. Now, maybe they'll all come up, who knows, but chances are only some of them will. So it won't really be a problem, but if I get way too many, I'll just pull out the weaker looking ones. I've already put water on these, and there's water in these little recycled tubs, so I'm not watering on top. It'll just soak it up. Okay, nearly there. Okay, with this one I'll just scooch it round to try and cover the seeds up a little bit. Okay, and there we go. And then I'll just find a little label for those and they can go in my new cupboard. And into the cupboard the chillies go, very first seedlings. I can't wait to get this full of little plant babies. Just to point out, don't actually need the light on until the green leaves appear. So into the dark they go. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it's inspired you to maybe make a little propagaty cupboard of your own. If you've enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe and see all my other videos to come. Thank you. Bye bye from me and the girls. Say bye, girls.